All right, here we go. Hi, and welcome to Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with Texas musician who has a new single out, Chief Alita, who is currently releasing videos from his performance of Packaged Menwear on his YouTube channel and has an album, Dirty Blonde, coming out soon. Please welcome back my friend, Sage Suede. How you doing today, sexy?
Hey, I'm doing good.
That's good. So, in a photo you did promoting that performance at Menswear, you shot at a location where there was attempted hate crime, and you stood on broken glass. A, were you wearing shoes? And B, why didn't you just wait for somebody to clean up the broken glass?
I did wear shoes. Well, you don't always have that luxury of time, so
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to react to things
Well,
in
I
the
mean,
moment.
you wearing shoes like makes sense. When I first thought, so I don't care how bad the like thirst trap is, but it's like you're gonna stand on like broken glass in bare feet. That to me seems like fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, so like chiflada, like that's kind of what it means. It's like crazy, but like, it's also like it can be cool too. Like chiefing and chiflada. Like they
Yeah.
kind of go hand in hand. So that's more the way I'm like describing it. Like I almost spelled it with the E just because um like a double meaning.
Right. So, what was it like performing in the middle of an underwear store?
It was great. Um the crowd's so good. I had a lot of friends there too, so it's one of my favorite shows, definitely, just because the audience is so positive.
So was it okay? So was it like they like shut down the store for you, or was it like you were performing in the middle of like when the store was open?
Well, the store was still open. Like people could still browse, and it's like a boutique, so it's a pretty good size for it, I think. And I'd totally be down to do that at other boutiques or smaller stores. I guess big stores can be cool too, but it's usually better they have that kind of setup or some kind of sound dampening. If not,
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of like in some ways it's kind of like cool, and in some ways it's like one of those things where you're an indie artist and that's like you kind of like starting out, and like maybe you'll get to a point where you'll be bigger and you'll remember the times that you got to perform in smaller places like that, so it will actually be kind of cool for you.
yeah, there's probably always going to be smaller venues and small events too. Those usually always good shows. I feel like they're usually always good to record too, just because then you have that ambiance. But it was pretty big too. It was a pretty big event. There were a lot of people there, so um, I think it's gonna be good as a live release too, because it's gonna be a
Yeah.
live release on streaming as well as what's currently on my YouTube. So that'll come out at the end of the month.
Nice. So my next question is, do you ever feel judgment from the gay community being a bisexual man?
Yeah, like all the time.
Which is almost like even when I wrote that question, it's kind of like crazy because you probably get like the notion from some gay man. It's like, well, gay man, where it's like, well, why don't you just come out as gay? You already know you're fucking gay. Like, just admit it. We all did, and that was because not necessarily like you can be bisexual, but it's like them.
It's what
It's like
they
you were
are,
hiding
like
something.
sometimes. Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's usually more a personal thing.
Yeah,
But it can be kind of tough just because you're not really like. one or the other, and people don't get it, and they get really confused. They can be really rude about it. So I don't know. It's just something you like don't really as like a daily thing. It just after a while you're just like, okay, it's daily, you know.
Right.
Unless somebody like really gets it, then more often you're just kind of like giving them a default reply or something. I don't usually answer if somebody like tries to ask me like for a breakdown or like the stats, like they want the play by play. They're like, "What's your batting average? Gender on gender?" Like, I don't give them
Wait.
that. I'm like, you're just looking for an excuse to like segment someone. You're not even listening to what I'm telling you, you know.
So
So I
people are like legit bold enough to just ask you like what the breakdown is?
they do that a lot. And but whenever they ask that question, it's like with the intention of being like, "You're wrong. This is what your stats say. Like your stats say you swing this way, you know." So I don't answer that question because it's like with the intention of just being, more judgmental. Uh,
It's also it's like dumb. It's like what does that prove? Cuz it's almost as I say even probably among gay men, it's like gay men, it's like you'd be fine with a woman being bisexual, but the minute somebody is bisexual who you're trying to fuck, all of a sudden it's like now this big deal. It's like, well, no way he could actually be bi. And that's at least my view on it is I don't give a shit about sleeping with bisexual men. Honestly, when you're fucking me, you're fucking me. So I don't give a shit what you do when you're gone. You're here with me now.
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of weird to like conjecture about people. I feel like it can definitely be something like you were saying about like people saying that stupid phrase like "by today, gay tomorrow" or something like that, or um,
Yeah.
you know, because it's just like I don't know, invalidating, and there's already a lot of invalidation and like stuff. So yeah.
And plus, just another point, it's like in a community that's already marginalized, you shouldn't be trying to marginalize people even more. You should be
Yeah, I
like
think
trying to
it
come
becomes
together.
limited in a lot of ways. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, it's. I guess it depends who you're talking to. I've had plenty of times that's been like, that happens, and then you're just kind of like, I don't really want to hang out anymore. Or like I've even had exes that like my ex like kind of turned on me because of my sexuality, and like, even though they're the one dating me, they'd be like, acting like I couldn't hang out with them and their girlfriends or whatever. I'm like, how many friends I have that are female, like I don't care. But it was really just like them being petty and like a bad partner.
That
Um,
wow.
yeah.
See, I will say this, like the one time that like actually dated somebody, they were well, actually, I will say this. They told me they were bisexual at the time. Later, it turns out they were like transitioning in my like when they were living with me. So like that was a whole nother thing. But back when they were bi, I literally said, and I don't know if most boyfriends would be like this, but I'm like, listen, if there's something that I can't give you and there's something that you need, like go off and do what you need and just I know you'll come back to me.
Yeah, I mean it's like all personal and stuff too, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess that can be the case. I guess it depends on who they are and stuff. It's definitely not a big deal for me. I feel like if anything, usually it's more open just because, you're not really judging one way or the other usually.
Right.
So I don't know. Can be complicated. I feel like bisexuality sometimes almost gets lumped into being an ally, and it's not really. usually bi people still need queer spaces as safe spaces. They're not allies. They're still getting all of the prejudice from both sides. So, like they are,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard it explained like that. I mean, well, partially because I don't know that experience, but like what you're saying is right, especially because just because you're bisexual doesn't mean that you're like extremely masculine presenting. So you could be like a femme bisexual and then you literally need the same protection as gay people do because you're more flamboyant.
Yeah, like you can be any gender expression and
Yeah,
be bi. So, and like if you changed your gender expression, I don't think that would even necessarily change your sexuality. So it's like all personal. So
right. So when your nudes got quote unquote leaked, did you at all feel exploited or were you feeling that that's something that you would have almost done yourself?
I mean they're pretty good pictures, so I was fine with it. At first I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty cool. And then I saw it in like other countries. Like I saw it in like Vietnamese and Croatian, and I was like, oh my God, it's everywhere.
But it's literally like your nudes being leaked. You take like half naked pictures anyway, so it's not like not that far of a stretch.
Yeah, it's still blurred. Like I wouldn't have minded if it wasn't blurred, honestly. But I sent him just like the full pics anyways. And I was like, you can leak any of these. I don't even care. Just as long as it's one of these hot pics. So I sent them like a few folders, and then it was like there were probably like 8 implieds and like uh 10 full nudes. So yeah, they had a lot of options to work with, and then they ended up going with the one in the unitard and then blurring it in the unitard because it was like too big in there. So I thought that worked out really well.
I mean, it did.
I guess some people would complain about the blur. They don't like that it was blurred.
Well, it's because they would say like, "Why don't you just like leak it the way it is?" But maybe to some people, they would feel like, in a crazy way, they'd feel like that's like porn if they
Yeah,
didn't blur it, and it's like,
I don't know. It was like for an article, so I'm not sure. I was like fine with it either way. They have more pictures of me, so it's not like they don't have options. Um, yeah.
so
The
what are you gonna
reporter's
keep?
like this hot Aussie chick, so it wasn't really like it's not really
Right.
a problem. You tell people like, oh no, the hot Aussie chick leaked my nudes in the UK. They're usually just like, oh. Or like me too, bro. Like
And
so.
it's like, obviously, it's like she leaked them, and like, obviously, like every dude that like finds you hot is gonna like literally try and look for them, thinking like maybe I'm gonna see something. But
Yeah, I mean, she still asked me, so it wasn't like rude or anything, you know.
right. Oh, okay. Next question. Is it hard for you dating women because in some of their minds they'll always think that you'll just run off with a man when you get the chance?
I mean, it depends. If you're dating somebody else that's bi, they probably won't think that way at all.
Right.
Or at least not so much. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends. Because like I have friends like they've told me they feel the opposite way because they're bi too, but they're female. So they've had a lot of boyfriends that like they left because their boyfriend wasn't open to being with them and a woman at the same time that they find attractive. So I don't know. I don't get that. So I don't have a problem with that.
Well, okay. Maybe this is a way to ask the question. So when you're in a relationship, are you more like typically monogamous or are you more like open and fluid?
I'm definitely like more monogamous leaning. I just, I'm very loyal. So it's just kind of my personality because I'm really into loyalty. And there's also like health risks and stuff if you're not. So
Yeah.
it's a
I mean,
personal safety choice.
I guess that's a good point. Well, actually, another question I just thought of this. So, after like you've dated a guy and like all of a sudden you started dating a woman, have you ever experienced the fact of like she's been like, I need you to get tested immediately before we do anything?
I don't think so. I don't think that's happened before. There was one time I was hooking up with a woman, and then she was like, "Oh, I thought you were gay," and she was like confused. But we were already hooking up when she was thinking that, so it didn't really matter.
Well, no, I mean, you're there doing something. It's like obviously you were able to get it up, so like that's all that should fucking matter. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it didn't really matter. We probably would have kept uh hanging out and stuff, but I was moving, so it just didn't really work out the timing. But yeah, she's fine.
yeah.
She was like a born again virgin. So she like had a pact to like be a virgin, and then we hooked up on the first date. So um,
What?
it
Okay.
lasted days.
That's a thing that I don't get. Like saying you're a born again virgin. It's like I guess that's more like a Christian like Jesus type thing. It's something that I'm like, how could you be born again? That doesn't like take the fact that you like might have screwed half the town before you became a virgin. Like,
Well, apparently she did like a pinky promise, and then I didn't know about it until she broke it again with me. So it was like, okay, I guess not.
okay. Um, do you feel that Hispanics will judge you for making a Latin inspired song like Chifalita, being that you're white?
I feel like, I mean, I am Hispanic,
Oh, you
so
are Hispanic. Okay.
because I speak Spanish and my mom taught me Spanish growing up. But I think that people are more likely to be judgmental of me making music that's Latin urban and is in English, which I have done a little bit of and I've already done before. Like, because I released the album Savage Summer, and that's got a lot of reggaeton and electropop in the sampling and everything. And I also have a reggaeton remix of New Diet on my New Diet single, which I sent the stems for the drums before that got made. But yeah, so I feel like as a Spanish song, it's actually like more accepted. It's like because it's more standard to the genre, if
Right.
that makes sense. But I'm also like in Texas, so there's really almost no one here that makes reggaeton. There are people like Carol G tours through and stuff, but she doesn't really live here. I'm like one of the only people that lives here that does any of that. So in a way, I'm like a founder of the genre um, in my city in Texas. So a lot of people are really supportive of that. They really like that. I do stuff like that. G Flata like has a lot of like more like Mexican Spanish and stuff in the slang. So I think people like that I'm capturing some of that for them that they can enjoy too. So.
Well, okay. Saying that you're saying that, it's very weird that you say that because I'm thinking of like Texas, and granted, Texas is a big state, but like Texas very much borders Mexico, so you would think that like that influence would be more there.
It
But
is, but it's also like, like we had like Selena, right?
yeah,
And and that's more like cumbia and stuff. It's not really like as much like reggaeton, but that's a big thing. Like Tejano is like really big here and stuff, but that's like, it's a small sub-regional genre. It doesn't get like the big mainstream support, and you see like the difficulties like Selena went through and stuff with like, people around her and stuff and having to deal with that as she got bigger and everything. And um I don't know. I think about it more like that. I think about it more as like it's like a regional genre. It's like really small, and we're developing it.
right.
I'd love to work with other people if I can. Like I am always like networking with people like other producers and stuff that are in the genre too. So I would like to work with some of them someday. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, actually, okay. I'll ask this question. This is a question that I just wrote, but I'll just ask you now. So, you were talking to me before about like kind of posting your own tracks and like editing and all that. So, how involved are you in the production slash engineering of your music?
So I basically do all the songwriting by myself. So all the demos are like done by me, and then I record those at home, and it depends on which album, because some of the early ones I actually recorded the vocals on my own, which like I just released the Electro Puppy Live. So that one I really like, for example, because when I first started, I did some monotracked vocals with like reverb and stuff. So
Yeah,
it wasn't just like one track, but like I prefer to do a lot more doubles and stuff as I've gotten more involved, and like I've improved at the vocals, which I do all the editing for and all the comping for them. A lot of the pre-master stuff, as far as the arrangement goes and everything. Um, I'll do all that, and then I send it back to the studio so they can work with it. Um, but yeah, I make most of my background uh, to tracks, and then like all the vocal arrangement for the most part. So that kind of thing. It's a lot of the overall arrangement of the song, like the composition of it, with the stems and everything.
yeah. So, okay. So I'm just gonna ask this question in a little bit more like technical way. So, like, you very much like work in Pro Tools and like do all that and like work in Logic to make beats, or are you usually like getting things from people?
So I've used Logic before, but I actually use Ableton for the most part,
Okay.
and I do work with a lot of people that use Logic too. It's one of the biggest, the most
Yeah.
popular ones, also one of the most expensive. But um, yeah, so I do that, but I'll record like my demos at home, but then I go to my studio usually for the final recording. But I mentioned the live because when I take the live audio for songs like that are mono-tracked, and then I put it over the original audio, it becomes like a double-tracked song. So some of those, like to me, they sound
Amazing.
better having the live on top and stuff too, because then you have the second recording. So I'm
Right.
really liking to re-release them because a lot of them sound really fresh and different.
Right. I will say, like, you speaking of like Logic being expensive, I know that. That's why, like, when I make a beat, I literally have this website called Audio Tool that I use. So it's like I literally just a lot of what I do is I work with samples and I like EQ them to make them sound different. So like that's very much how I do things, but I'm also more someone who and when people see like how I create things, it's I do like the most minimalist beat around and then like through the music I like build like what's going on in the song through the vocals. So like I would love to be one of those people who creates like a complex beat. I can't do it myself. Like
Yeah, I rearrange a lot of beats too. So I do a lot of my writing with samples,
yeah.
which aren't always, uh, it's not always something that, is in the box thinking. Sometimes it's like random to other people, but it fits the overall structure. Like I had that slang weed cookies, and then there's like an opera singer in the funky remix. So, um, but it fits really well with the overall vibe. So it's like
Yeah,
a really trippy sample in that song, but it sounds cool. So
yeah, and it's like even with that, you probably well, I mean, you're an independent artist, so you probably don't have to go through with this. You don't have to like sit there and convince somebody like, trust me, it'll work.
yeah, I mean, I
Like,
own everything. So
yeah,
all of my masters on every track I've ever released. So um, yeah, I definitely don't have to do any of that, which is kind of cool. Um, yeah, I'm like working on another song too. I have like a remix for Honeybee Sweet. She's releasing a song called Hustlers. So I made her remix for that too, and that'll probably be out by the end of the month.
that's awesome. And like, well, what you're saying about like owning your masters, it's like with that, you get to create the track. Like when you made the track, it's exactly what you wanted. You didn't have to like go through somebody else and be like, have them come in and be like, well, I would change this and I'm going to change this to make it sound like different. It's like literally your vision.
Yeah, I never have to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice working independently in that sense because you have more freedom. Um, and I do like that with the stuff that I do have going on, I can usually just make another version. And I feel like
Yeah.
for the most part, people should have that freedom to be able to just make extra versions, you know? I know creative control is something that is lacked a lot in the industry, but um, honestly, I feel like in the first place, artists should be capable of doing that. And I make a lot of my remixes on my own. It'd be a completely different genre or style, but it's like the same track, or I rearrange all the vocals in the track and stuff to make it more trippy. So,
That's amazing. So, okay. Okay. Do you ever do things in your performances or music that are just for shock value, or does everything you do have a purpose?
um, I don't think I do anything that's just for shock value. Um, I can't think of anything.
Well, I mean, that's actually kind of a good thing because at least to me that shows that like you're authentic and genuine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that is kind of like more, I guess, my vibe, like the kind of city I'm from and stuff. Um, I'm really into art and stuff too, of course. So people that aren't
Right.
into like art, they don't always see that. Yeah, they'll
Uh,
read it a little differently.
yeah. I mean, I know that I've had to experience that judgment in like my own life. My own sister literally said like I just do drag to try and get people's attention. It's like, well, no. It's like, yes, I want to get your attention, but it's like through that I want you to get like attracted to my message and hear what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It can be a good conversation starter too.
Yeah. And the greatest thing is I always say about doing drag, I'm kind of an introverted person, so like when I'm out performing somewhere, I don't have to talk to people, people come and talk to me. So it's like
I was curious too. Have you ever thought about having like an outfit, like a quick change outfit that's reverse drag? Like, because you were telling me last show that sometimes you have to switch really quickly. Like, what if you like had like a trench coat you throw on over and then, you know,
if I
or
could
cut
like
your hair out?
yeah. Oh like oh you mean like take off my wig and like hmm
Yeah, or you like just throw on a trench on top of your like mini skirt, so then it's just the trench. and you like put your hair in a man bun, and then you're like, now you don't know, or something. I don't know. It was just a silly
I'm
idea.
like, well, I'm processing it. That's the thing where I'm like,
It would be a really cool thing. Like honestly, I feel like it should be more common with like drag and stuff. They shouldn't necessarily like it could be a gender bend outfit change too. You know.
well, if I were to do that, I mean, it would be when I have a next performance, which is God knows when.
I
Because
was thinking more for at home for your personal situation, but
oh, you mean like,
you know, if you need to change because like all of a sudden, you know, you just like have your trench coat and your
I
secondary
mean,
wig or something.
I literally have thought about doing like the thing that I've like tried to orchestrate. I've never thought about doing that. I have thought about doing like a wig change, like mid song, or like maybe as what you said, like literally put on one thing and put on something else. But yeah, the trench coat would actually be like kind of a good idea.
Yeah, I'd like to get one in like a cute like pastel. I have to look around. I've never seen like a pastel one. I don't want to get anything that it looks too heavy, like like I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah, and
fling
it's
my
also
trench open, sketchy kind of thing, but they can be cute, like with the slipping collars too. So to like look around. I
or
like
it's like
peacoats more.
if I had get like a plain brown one. Well, actually, I wouldn't want to do brown. I'd want to do black. But I would feel like I would have to like bedazzle it to like make it more interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You could add like some studs to it.
Yeah.
You go with studs.
Yeah, that's something that I know how to do. That's why I see when people talk about like girls on RuPaul's Drag Race and like how they're like sitting there like sewing stuff. I'm like, girl, I ain't even close to that. Like, I could maybe bedazzle something else, but I can't like hot glue something. I've never tried to like make an outfit. Like,
Hot glue's not hard though. You can totally use hot glue. I believe in you.
yeah, I mean,
Or permanent glue is fine too. It doesn't have to be hot. If it's like a sticky glue.
yeah, I mean, I guess I could look for that at a craft store. I mean, it seems like now the only time that like I have free to like where I would be making outfits, I'm so desperately like trying to get people on this podcast. So like every free moment I have is either like trying to either book guests or do research on guests to like come up with questions. So like
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's whatever. There's time for it too. So
yeah, I mean it's not like I'm gonna stop doing drag tomorrow because like that. I was explaining this to somebody like as I say, I went through like two bouts of depression, and one of them was before I became a drag queen, like kind of just like existing, not like knowing who I was. And then the second one was once I found drag, it was like not being able to do that every day was kind of like a mind fuck.
hmm that's another reason I like punk fashion. It's very non-binary. So I have like my Chevy Glow Paul. I wore a sweater that I distressed in the back, like a cut through the back. But that made it like way sexier too. So it made it like a more fashionable look. Uh, but it also made it more masculine. So punk is like kind of, it doesn't have to be masculine. It can be the other way around too. Like you could be female distressing a male sweater, but that's usually
Yeah.
more if it's not your birth gender for the sweater too. So I sometimes like to wear like punk outfits and like distressed sweaters in a punk way. So there's some I've been wanting to get actually.
Well, I mean, I guess in one way, if you wanted to do like a more masculine like outfit and do something more punk, it'd be just honestly, and I know this isn't like really punk, it's like not doing something that's black.
It can be either way. Yeah, I don't usually do black either because I'm also into like a lot of the pastels and stuff too. So, but I do also like black a lot. So a lot of times I will wear black also. But yeah, the most traditional punk sweaters, a lot of them are horizontal stripes, which I'm not as into. And the one I
Yeah.
did for my show, it's like more of like a kind of it's like a snow leopardish pattern or like a white cheetah or something. But it's not real, you know, it's just like the kind of ish print of it. Um, but you know, cutting it made it like way hotter because it, but I don't think that the cutting works as well on the horizontal sweaters because they already make you look wide. Um,
Right.
so it can sometimes help like kind of break the lines a little bit, but I feel like it's usually better when it's you know, more broken up pattern, kind of like that print.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Maybe.
not a I'm not opposed to not doing black. I usually do black because I'm a little bit of a bigger person and like black makes you look thinner.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I mean, I'm not opposed to colors, but like if I like really love a look, I try not to look at people's comments, but like if I'm like, I want to see what people think about it. That's not always a good thing.
I like a lot of the bright outfits you do too, because I think the
It's
colors like they're like really artistic. So
and
like
I like
the
yeah.
the most like flashy.
Yeah, I mean, I like doing colors like that was more something like once I got into doing bodysuits, that was something I like more tried to experiment with. Cuz for
Yeah,
years
I
I
tried
was
some on.
yeah, cuz for years I was just like black, black. And in some ways it's because I guess I've lost weight since like I first started doing drag, so it's like when I was heavier, obviously I wanted to do black because like I didn't want the like you fat bitch comments like all on Instagram or whatever. And it's like now I got to the point where I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Say what you're gonna say. And if you're gonna say something rude, I'm probably gonna fucking delete it and block you anyway.
Yeah, I usually block people like that too. Some of my friends have been telling me about stuff like that. And I say the same thing because like you know, there are artists that they say that it can help them out, you know, because I do occasionally have like trolls that they like you know they try to talk or whatever and fans will like try to stick up for you but and that can be a good thing because they're willing to stick up for you but I usually prefer to just delete them because
Yeah,
until you get to like a bigger level it's just kind of a bad impression um and you don't want somebody around that's just giving a bad impression, you know, before there's enough conversation that it's in your favor. So I usually tell people to just block too.
yeah, and it's also the fact of like, granted, you're very like, I don't mean this to be like in a bad way, but you're like average. Like you're not extremely ripped, but you're not
Yeah,
like fat either. Like you're average. So like people expecting all stars to be like extremely ripped, that's fucking insane.
they
It's
aren't though even. It's just like Photoshop, you know.
yeah,
I do like have definition, but it's like, you know, it's not a lot, you know.
right.
Um so
No, I'm not
I
judging. You look
representative
hot.
of
Like
like a realistic body standard.
yeah.
But I do still fast a lot.
Well, I mean, That is something I get that. Like, I like the place where I work, everyone's like talking about like going out to lunch. I'm like, I don't go out to lunch. I have like a bag of reduced fat Cheez Its. That's my lunch. Like, I don't. I'm one of those people who's like, most of the time, you only need like 1, 2 meals in a day. This like whole eating three like big meals in a day is almost, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm like always fasting. I fast like all the time. I feel like a lot of times when people uh they want to like try to size up or whatever what's going on, they don't just see what you're actually going through, and they might like get mad that you ate like a big meal or something, but you only had like 1 or 2 meals. And that's usually just what's up when you're fasting a lot. So
Well, okay. I just thought of another question in that vein. So, you say you fast a lot, but do you ever feel pressure to like be at a certain body ideal?
I mean, yeah, I do photo shoots like all the time, so I definitely do have to work out for those, and I've also lost weight because of that too. So I did lose maybe like 10 pounds. It's also my new diet also, so um yeah.
Yeah. I
But I've been
mean,
seeing like the results from it, so I feel a lot like it is a result of the pressure too. Um and I'm happy about it because these are results like I wanted for myself.
right.
Um but yeah, no, nobody's really like doing that in particular, I guess, like it's more my standard is a little bit higher than what most of the city is, so yeah. I kind of already have that set for myself, where my bar is, so
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. You're in Texas. Like, it's in some ways like it's easier for you to like stand out being thin in Texas versus if you were like living in LA where you'd have like immense pressure, probably even more than you do now, to be thinner
yeah.
because everyone around you would be.
I mean, I'm in a good enough weight for LA. Like when I went to LA, I felt comfortable, but yeah, the standard is a little bit manipulated with like plastic surgery and stuff, like and people trying to like give you judgment based on your like ethnocentric features. Um, but yeah, it's like that's still, their personal issue, if you really think about it. So
Well, okay. So,
because it's not my judgment in the first place, it's like
okay, speaking of plastic surgery, would you at some point ever consider getting any? Or are you one of those people who just believes in like aging naturally?
well, I've never needed it, so I haven't really thought about it.
See, I have had this discussion with somebody before, and they said they had a friend who like believes in getting everything done early to like prevent aging, and I'm like, why don't you just wait till you get older and then see if you need anything? That's at least the way I look at it.
Yeah, I've seen that too, but I know there's also a lot of mistakes and a lot of things are not necessary, and a lot of the natural features are there for a reason. you know. There are different procedures that are a little unnatural that aren't necessarily healthy for your body or necessarily in the long term, the way your face continues to age. So it
Exactly.
would fall out, if you go for it. But that's why I don't do any of it because you would have to keep doing it.
This is the exact point. I take the example of Madonna, who looks fucking crazy. And then you
Yeah,
found out she started doing facelifts when she was 37 years old, and they only last 10 years.
yeah, I found that out too, actually. I was like curious about it, so I was reading about it. It seems like it's tough.
Right.
I could see why though, for the amount of pressure that she does have and like the income she makes from face and all that, serving face. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense, but like, you get to the point where, like, now she doesn't look good at all. She doesn't even look human. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's tough to say because once you get to
Yeah.
that age, you would have so many signs, otherwise. I
True.
think she like dissolved some of the filler and stuff because there was a lot of filler. A lot of people do that nowadays. There's like so much filler in the industry and stuff, and like I've never used any because I don't, I really don't
You don't have any wrinkles. You don't
have
need
any
it.
more other than braces. But um, yeah. So I have like noticed that though. There are a lot of people like every time they do like a new single, they're like pumped full of Botox, and
Yeah.
um, I think that can get unhealthy at some point, but for the most part, it's just cosmetic.
Well, see, in some ways, that's why, like, when I think about, like, losing weight, in some ways, like, being a little bit heavier is gonna help me prevent from having to get Botox because there won't be a lot of wrinkles if you, like, stay bigger. Because your face isn't, like, age a lot because there's not a lot of, like, places for skin to sag. So it's like, I do think about that where I'm like, so, yes, I wanna lose weight, but it's like, well, how much do I really wanna lose?
I do like a face massage. So definitely like moisturizing definitely helps, but I
Yeah.
think getting a face massage helps. Because your muscles in your face like they'll get like tired or it helps to like keep them more relaxed and firmer. So it can help the skin to feel firmer too. So I do like a
Yeah.
Japanese face massage. I don't do it every night, but I do it pretty often. So I think that
Hmm.
helps a lot.
Yeah, face massage I've never done. I moisturize every day, but, like, yeah, face massage I've never done.
I
Interesting.
recommend it. I think it helps. I almost dropped my drink.
It's alright, where am I? Okay, well, you kinda answered this before, but I guess I'm just gonna ask this question anyway. So, since you are bi, if you could, would you marry both a man and a woman?
I mean, I'm more monogamous, so no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if it was like a perfect thing, that would make more sense, but for legal reasons, probably not.
Well, that's why I said if you could. I know obviously it's illegal, like,
Well, the legal like, I mean, not just like that, but like the ramifications of, being married to someone under law. Um, do that with two people, it could get very complicated very quickly. Uh,
yeah, actually, when you
I don't
say
know,
that, I'm literally
and
now
dangerous.
just thinking about. I'm thinking about like, I know you don't like to think about this when you go in marriage. I'm thinking about divorce, and I'm like
Yeah,
having to split everything, like not
I
just one
probably
way, but two ways. Like,
I think prenups are pretty fair in my
right?
opinion. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. If they're too rich to, have that relevance to me or whatever, then they don't have to write one. It's for their
Well,
protection,
no,
not mine.
no, please. If you're marrying somebody rich, you're gonna be like, I don't want a prenup because you want their money. Like,
Well, I mean, I feel like they'd be the ones to say it
yeah,
most of the time, but, yeah. Yeah. I, 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 It's
Okay.
got sick, you know.
Yeah. So, have you ever considered going on tour or have you ever toured?
Well, I just got back from Denver, and then I did the show at the underwear store uh early this year. So, well, okay, so Denver was in January, and then the underwear store was in March. So, those have been really fun. And then I am planning to probably do some more local events. I don't want to spoil it because it's not fully organized. They have to like send it through their like chain of command or whatever to get it approved. But it's like local LGBT advocacy and stuff. So I'd really be excited to do these concert series. One's supposed to be like a global LGBT conference. So
Work.
yeah. But yeah, I definitely like to do more, other states and tour more, and I'll probably go to Cali sometime soon. I might wait a year or two, just so I have a extra to make more music rather than just tour more because I release so
Yeah.
much music. Like with all of my live releases, that's 43 songs. Um, and so that's 43 new versions of like songs that are out as well.
Right.
Um, and I have my new album, which I already have at least 14 songs in mastering right now. So a few of those aren't even going to make it on the album. And then I got like two more. So there's like 16 tracks that are, I've already done a majority like the songwriting and like beat arrangement and all the vocal pre stuff that I do. So um, yeah, I have more money for that because I don't tour as much. I do a lot more
Right.
writing. So people are going to get a lot more music, which I think will be really exciting this year. So
Well, okay. Um, maybe this is just more like a curiosity thing. I know you were saying LA. So, have you ever been to Miami?
I used to live in Florida, like closer to Orlando.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think I've been actually, but I think I would like it.
Well, because I feel like I'm just talking about more for a tour. Because it's like I feel like your music would fit in very well in Miami.
Yeah, probably. I could see that. Um, yeah, I've heard the drag scene there is really cool too. So
Um,
the costumes and stuff.
yeah, I don't. I mean, I know some drag queens in Miami. I'm a little bit more familiar with Orlando because that's where I used to live and that's where I used to perform. So, like,
Mhm.
but Miami, I was just saying that because, like, I would love to hear if you were coming to Miami. I'd come see you. Like, I'm literally not even 2 hours from Miami.
Yeah, I mean, if you could help me find some shows, I'd definitely be down. I have to organize some. Uh, I honestly, I'm somebody that like I'm pretty tall and like bigger built and stuff, so I come across like a bit intimidating to a lot of people. So the softer skills, like organizing stuff like that, can sometimes be harder for me. Like I do get a lot of gigs through friends, who will be like hosting or organizing or whatever, and like sometimes I help to organize and stuff too. But yeah, so I have more trouble with that side of things.
Well, wait.
Um, just because I do so much and I'm like really fierce in my lyrics and stuff. So
Yeah.
it can be kind of intimidating for people when they don't know me.
Well, how tall are you?
I'm 6'3". I mean, I'm not like huge, so but it's
Well,
enough that it intimidates a lot of people. I don't think you're like 6'2" at least, right?
yeah,
You're
well, I am 6'3".
oh you're 6'3" too, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I knew
like,
you were around my height. I wasn't sure.
yeah, and the craziest thing is I think people don't expect that because, like, I guess in some ways in pictures I might look a little bit smaller than that.
How tall are you in heels? Are you like 6'5"?
It depends on what heels I'm wearing. So, like, my typical heels, I'd say 6'6". I have shoes that like make me 7 feet tall. I don't wear them that often because, well, I
That
have
does
what
look
I
kinda cool though.
yeah, I have what I call like two sets of shoes. I have shoes that like I can actually perform in, and then I have shoes where it's like it looks nice in the photo. I can sit behind a desk and like talk to people like doing this podcast. Like I have those two. Like I have shoes that are like womp, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be able to perform in these, but I can sit behind a table and
You
like
should do the 7-inch shoes, the 7-foot shoes with a really long like dress, and then it can hang a little further because you're so far above the ground.
ah. I actually, ooh, you just said something. The
Like
ones
a
that
duster or
what the ones that
something.
I'm thinking of, yeah, I would definitely do that. I have like Frankenstein boots that I think that would actually probably work perfectly
Or
with.
even like kind of a cocktail dress, you know?
Yeah. So where am I? Oh, okay. So I think this is actually my final question. I'll look, but so what's the biggest misconception about you?
Um, I mean, I do pretty much everything, so I don't usually talk about it just because I have in the past and people don't get it, and it kind of sounds like I'm like really exaggerating, but I'm not, like, just because I do like all this design work and I'm basically an art director too, because I'm like planning everything and stuff. Um, but you know, just for myself personally, for
Right.
my own brand and stuff. And that's all the music, but also like all the album covers, the imagery I use, stuff like that also. Um, and you know, I don't have any obligation to do anything for anyone, so um, I like to be like a little bit like a renegade or like chiflada. You know, I'm like, you can bend the rules a little bit, like in your art, and like you want to like make a statement with stuff you're doing. It's not just like it shouldn't be like too bland for me to even talk about like LGBTQ rights or anything. You know, it's like
Right.
um, so I do like to do stuff like in the imagery that's like a little non-binary and stuff like that, and um, yeah, and in the lyrics too. I do also have a few songs like that. I have a new song that I'm working on that has "dem" in the title. So yeah, I mean, I'm like always working on new stuff. So really like, hey, I don't know any like real uh, really big issue. I mean, there's something about me being a nudist online or whatever, but like, I'm not like always naked. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't have pants on right now, but it's not a big deal, right?
I mean, how the fuck can I judge? I'm not wearing pants either. Like, that's literally how I live. Like, I just do stuff. Well, that was part of me, like, becoming more confident with my body image. It's like, fuck it. If I want to be half naked, I'm going to be half naked.
Yeah, I mean, like as an entertainer, it's like it can be part of your whole thing. So
Yeah, it's like, I remember, like, when I was first wearing bodysuits. I don't do it now. I wear fishnets when I perform, but it's like, somebody was saying, like, you can't have your ass hanging out. I'm like, why not? Like, most of the time, like, I'm into black guys. They want to see my ass hanging out. Like,
hmm
it's like, at some point, somebody told me, they're like, oh, you need to pad and you need to do all this. And I'm thinking, I'm like, so let me get this straight. You want me to make my already large ass even larger than it is? That seems insane to me.
yeah, that's probably not necessary. I don't know.
No. It's like, first of all, if I tried to pad, nothing I own would fit. Like, I have to buy a whole new wardrobe. And I'm like, no.
like a drag brunch, like if there's food involved and it's a sanitary thing, like do you feel like cheeks should be flying?
Well, I mean, uh,
Let's
uh,
assume crap.
well, this is the thing. Like, first of all, I had never performed a drag brunch, so I've never had to be in that situation before. So, like,
So it's
so
not relevant what you meant, but yeah.
yeah, like
Hypothetically.
hypothetically, if I were to do brunch,
Because I've seen a lot where it's still a thing, and then I'm like, I don't know if my food's in front of me, like I would be like eating my nachos, like accidents happen, you know, cheeks flying around.
I mean, right? I totally get that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Does some people give you extra tip?
Well, okay. Here's the thing. And I would only say this: if I were to do a brunch and I like were fully covered, I wouldn't want to do it in Florida. So it's
Hmm.
like make me do like a drag brunch in like a colder state where like wearing a dress, I wouldn't sweat through like everything and like sweat through my makeup.
Oh, well, maybe in winter you can do it.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like as I always say, like maybe if I lived in Alaska, I would have like I would be like wearing ball gowns and all that.
You
But it's
could
like,
try Denver maybe. Like when I
yeah,
was there, like it's a bit colder. I liked it. So
yeah. As I said, I would do all that. But it's like I live in Florida. Yeah, I'm not gonna wear pants. Like I sweat most of the time in general. Like even out of drag. Like I'm in my bedroom. I have two fans that I turn down that are constantly blasting because I live with my dad, and no matter what temperature it is outside, he likes to keep the house at 78 degrees. I'm
yeah,
like,
that's what I was thinking about the quick change too. There's
yeah,
also a video I saw where they were like changing their clothes a lot really quickly. It was a little goofy. It was supposed to look like they could just like pick up random things, like they just smudge their lipstick with a napkin, you know.
yeah,
But it was cool though. It was like a cool concept. So that's why I was thinking about it for like a show.
yeah. Actually, with you talking about a trench coat, I might do that at drag brunch because it's like maybe when I'm around people's food, I would wear that and then like reveal it off once I'm on stage. Like that, I
That
wouldn't
would
mind.
work.
Yeah,
Be a good idea.
like yeah. Because here's the thing, like I've seen drag brunches. I've seen them advertised in my area. Like I'd love to go to one. Most of the time when drag brunch is happening, I'm sitting here doing interviews. So it's like it'd have to be on a day where I had somebody cancel, which that's one thing where it's like for me that's the hardest thing when people say like doing interviews. I'm like hardest thing is getting people to like agree to something and actually show up.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true too. But people are flaky.
No, I had somebody where like I set up the interview for them. Day came, they didn't show up. I messaged them again, tried to set up another thing. They said done. Then morning of, they just literally didn't fucking show up.
Did they have a dig appointment?
They had a man, so like I don't know, maybe they did.
Spontaneous. That was a spontaneous appointment.
But I mean, based on the time that I usually record, who's having a dick appointment at like 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, that is usually pretty early.
Like I know from living in Orlando, like when I used to get up at like,
That's what it ends. No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
It ends at 9 a.m.
yeah, it's like people were getting up at 4 a.m. I'm like, bitch, you are clearly on drugs. And it's like, I don't know if I want you in my house
Uh,
on drugs because I don't know what you've been taking.
I've had like one or two hookups like that, and then I was like, oh god, awkward.
What, hooking up with somebody who's been on drugs?
No, there was like
Oh,
one. There's like one where they like were just really twitchy, and then I was like, oh gosh, I know what's going on here.
yeah, you got
They
someone who had
had
just,
capital T's in their profile.
yeah. Girl, you didn't know that? Like,
No, I knew, I
oh,
knew. Um, but when they were twitchy, I was like, I know. Um, I didn't like rush them out or anything either because I didn't want them to be
no,
like
I had
in a
somebody
bad
to,
mood. But
yeah.
yeah, I just really don't with that because they were like too twitchy to like sit still at like 5 a.m. So it was a little weird. But yeah.
As I said, I had somebody to, I had literally had, like, my first threesome. Two of the guys were doing Tina, like, in my apartment. And, like, I don't care. One of the guys was
Yeah.
old. One of the guys was older, and he like kind of like wandered off, and he left me with like the younger, hotter guy, which is who I wanted anyway. So like, it's like
Yeah,
we'll
I
do
just don't
whatever.
trust people like and I know it's like really bad for your brain. It can cause some permanent damage, so I definitely don't
Well, I've
advocate
never,
for it. So that's why I avoid it.
yeah, I've never done it. Like that's why who was it? Somebody else, somebody I worked with asked me. They're like, have you ever been around a crackhead? I'm like, yeah, I've had sex with one. Like, and then he's like, I'm like, you asked. It's like all I did was answer your question.
Yeah, I mean it's like a really big issue in a lot of major cities, especially in the gay community. Um, and it can be like a big safety issue too. Like I've even had people tell me that they were like uh, given it unwillingly, like they were just like head down, ass up, and they just like had it unwillingly given to them, and stuff like that. So
Well,
that's a thing in the community too. So people need to be aware that it's a risk and it's something that it can be like a major dependency that people can try to kind of force upon you. You know.
well, wait. When okay, maybe this is just me like overthinking it. So when you're head down and ass up, how does do they like I know I'm getting graphic here. So
They can
do
just shove it
they shove
in.
it in your ass?
Yeah, they can just shove it in.
Oh my god, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, I don't do. I mean, like, no judgments here. I don't do that myself. Like,
it's also like adulterated in a lot of stuff. And some street stuff has it too. Like some of the stuff from like the South has it. It's even like in prescription meds and stuff. Um, they're more like counterfeit meds. They're not necessarily real meds, but there are a lot of things that have that issues. So
wow.
it's like it's more and more common that it's in a lot of stuff. Like I know in a lot of people like will try like party drugs and it'll just like be in party drugs. It's like cut with it, so that people get more fixated and they don't know that they're already getting this dependency before they've ever tried it. So yeah,
See, like, maybe that's why I've never done drugs. Like, I've never done drugs of any kind, but it's like, it's because, especially nowadays, like, you don't know what anything's being cut with. And especially a lot of drugs, they're getting cut with fentanyl now. So it's like,
yeah, like that's kind of what I was mentioning. So
oh,
that's like the stronger
yeah,
version, right?
yeah.
But it's also very risky. So yeah, well, that's a big thing too.
And it's like I'm not gonna like trust some person I'm just randomly meeting to like hand me shit. I'm like, I don't know you from like a hole in the wall. I'm not gonna fucking trust you to give me anything.
Yeah, I'm more into like herbal stuff. Like I don't think I think weed should be legalized everywhere.
Right, same.
Um, Shrooms are okay and like psychedelics and stuff, but it's better to microdose. It's not like, I've done bigger amounts, but for the most part, microdosing is the healthier thing to be doing. And I even like I've been having absinthe lately, and like I'm not as big on alcohol, right? But like,
Yeah.
wormwood has thujone in it, just like sage does, and thujone's like pretty psychedelic, but it's not like, you'd have to have a ton for it to be way too much. It eventually gives me nightmares, which is weird, but
Wow,
'cause I don't
that's
do a lot of it because I'll just have nightmares all the time. but
so okay. I
but I've been
just thought
having
it
absinthe, and that's like microdosing because wormwood has psychedelic properties as long as you get an absinthe with wormwood.
nice. So actually I just thought of something. So do you like at all take like or do you like get high to like create or are you like someone who just like is able to come through inspiration like normally or do you have to like
I mean, I take inspiration from everything, so it's like from all my experiences, Like
right,
so my next album, I'm planning to call Dirty Blonde, but I have fuchsia highlights in my hair, like it's not just Dirty Blonde right now. Um and
right.
yeah, I really like I feel like psychedelics are very mind expanding if you don't use them too much, which usually is why I'm more like microdosing is better because it's easier to like have the benefits without any like major downsides or and stuff. Like with a full dose, I make sure I'm not gonna leave my house for 6 hours, so like for safety's purposes. But like I feel like it can help you like expand your like design mind and stuff, especially if you're a designer. A lot of people that do design, like game design and art design, all kinds of art, are into different things that can be like that. But I won't do anything that's like really damaging for the brain long term or anything, or like overdo it. So that's why I talk about like the herbal alternatives. Like psychedelics do exist naturally in nature, and like
Yeah.
420 and stuff. So um but yeah, I'm not even into coke, honestly. Like I don't object to it. It's not a problem for me really if it's around. It's just like it's just not really like, some people get a little weird. I don't think
Yeah.
that it's as social of a drug as people think it is. I think that they just feel really high and they think they're being more social, but they're actually a lot more awkward and shallow. So I'm not into it.
Actually, yeah, because I'm trying to think like I've heard people like talk about coke and they're like some people are very much like the party people, but some people are like kind of like hermits in a way where like they'll do it but they just want to do it by themselves. Like
Yeah, I just didn't really like it, and I'm just like always I think really fast, so I usually want more of like a downer, I don't want anything that's gonna make me like I do like black coffee though, so
yeah.
guess it doesn't really count, but
Well, I mean,
yeah.
okay. So did you try it or were you like at one point doing it a lot? I'm talking about coke.
Oh, I'm just not into it. I just don't really like it. Um, I had it in a blunt once, but it wasn't my thing.
Um
So
I mean, the only reason like I think I would ever do it, like ever consider doing it is like the myth of it helps you lose weight. Like that's the only thing that I think would like be the only benefit. But there's a ton of negatives on top of that. Would that like keep me away from doing it?
yeah, I feel like one of the biggest things is the cost. You shouldn't really consider it unless you're
Yeah.
okay, like wasting that money. Um, but also it's like not as good for your brain or your body long term as like marijuana is. And like marijuana does have the downsides of like if it's like smoked, it's like more lung damage than like if you eat it or whatever. And like I
Right.
try to vape more too, so um, but yeah, it's like so that's why I advocate for that more. I would like to see a lot more of that at bars because people don't die as much from having a lot of marijuana at a bar as they would from alcohol, you know, like that's the real leading cause of death. Like in Texas it's a leading cause of death, in Florida
Wow.
too. Also drink driving is a huge cause of death, but if marijuana was legalized, if it was like at the bars, it'd probably save a lot of people's lives. So
Yeah.
people are like definitively better drivers on it because it doesn't cause the amount of motor impairment that
Really?
alcohol does, because alcohol slows you down and you can't like
Yeah.
your speed of response and everything's all completely different. But weed, it's like you're just very in the moment. It doesn't stop you, you know, it's not
Well,
a problem.
okay. The only thing that like I would know to the contrary, I mean, like, yes, alcohol is that way. I'm not going to deny that, but I remember watching somebody like the group, like the Try Guys, like they tried getting high driving at one point, and like at some point it does slow you down a little bit.
I'm sure at some point, but you know, it depends how much. And
Yeah.
people that do a lot, you have a tolerance. It's a reverse tolerance and stuff too. So yeah, there's a lot of factors. You can also detox like with like various things too. So that also is a big factor also.
Right. Hmm. Let's see. Did I go through everything? I did. Hmm. Okay. Well, I'll say this. Do you have anything else to promote before?
Well,
Was
my new album should be soon. I'll have some new singles and stuff. Um, I haven't decided if I'm gonna run back to the studio for another album or something, because I have another at least 10 plus demos I could do, so I could probably get um, another album done in the next few weeks, maybe.
well,
So we'll see. I'm not rushing anything. You know, I got all this stuff. I'll say it's gonna be really cool.
okay. Sorry, just thought of one more thing when you're saying that. So, if you're putting money into music and you say you don't tour a lot, how are you recouping money back? Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, I am touring too. Um, so you know, like, and I do other methods too. It's not just the touring. You know, I also
yeah,
have a lot of music videos, and so we have all the live shows that I've recorded so far, and then I have live releases scheduled through April 21st, every Friday. So there's still four more of those, um, and then all the new songs too. So um, it can be tough to find, you know, the right relationships for it. I feel like a lot of those opportunities can sometimes be on the coasts, and in Austin, it can be difficult because you're kind of on your own, and then we don't have the Grammy office, and we don't have Spotify office, and
yeah,
you know, trying to make things happen when you're kind of like uh, on your own can be difficult sometimes. So it's just, you know, I'm independent, so I'm just doing everything. So I'm not,
yeah.
and nobody can stop me or slow me down when I'm doing a majority of the work. You know, it's just how fast I feel like doing it. And my producers.
Yeah. So you're actually independent, right? Like you don't. Well, I mean, like I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. So you don't have like a manager or a publicist. It's literally just you, right?
Yeah, it's just me. I mean, I have like a publicist, but yeah, we work closely together because manage everything that I do. So, I'd be open to it, if it worked out. But I do also see the downsides. I see some artists, they start getting managed and then the quality goes down a lot, or they don't have the coolness they had before because it's not so much
Yeah.
them anymore. They kind of have to hide who they are for the commercialism of it. Um, so yeah. Uh,
Well, reason I was asking that is because like I had a musician that I was trying to interview. He had me like why I was asking like why you have if you had a publicist is because he had me submit the questions to the publicist. Publicist never got back to me. We got to like the day of the interview and he's like, I can't do it. So like it's good that you have
mm.
like that amount of control and like your publicist doesn't control everything that you do.
Yeah, I also feel like it's more professional to at least give a reply and do it early and,
Right.
try to give people a chance to replace you if it's a planned show. So,
Yeah.
I have like an album, it's called Fooling Around. It's like a hip hop album. It's like hip hop and house and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I say like in the song, I'm like just fooling around, fuck it, mic check, I don't really care, but I do like, I'm very professional about the shows. I don't like get like really drunk or anything before I perform. I usually don't even drink until I perform and I'm done. So, um, I always make sure that it's like the art comes first. So,
Well, you're talking to somebody who like when I perform now, I hardly drink ever.
yeah.
Like and it's not I had like a bad night where like as I say, thank goodness this didn't happen. I got saved, otherwise I would have like almost gotten a DWI. So it's like that was a night, and it was a night where it wasn't like I was buying stuff. People were just like buying me stuff, and it's like you just get handed stuff, handed stuff, handed stuff, and it's like you don't want to say no. You don't want to be an asshole, but it's like at some point you have to like
Yeah.
figure out how to manage.
Well, you need to be having a good time. So,
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe like take a break somewhere in between when you're starting to feel your vibe because alcohol, I feel like it really plateaus quickly, and it doesn't last long term as much. Like I one of the reasons I prefer weed is because it's a little more consistent. It's not like there's not as much of a downside with like feeling like uncomfortable or hangovers, or like that anger or anything or sadness from not being drunk.
yeah,
Um, so I feel like it reaches kind of that plateau where you start to get kind of that anger and that sadness and stuff, and then it just starts to like slope off. So you kind of want to stop like a little bit before, so that you're not on the bad end of the wave.
yeah,
So yeah. Um, I don't know. I guess if there's like a lot of shots flying, you could maybe take a break somewhere in the middle. If you're feeling it, if you already feel like really good, maybe don't right away because you might be near
yeah,
your threshold of what's fun. Not really your threshold of like what your max level of poison could be.
yeah,
which isn't really what we're testing here, right? We're not lab rats. We're just trying to
yeah,
have fun. So
yeah.
the fun threshold, wherever that is for people.
And it's also in some ways I feel like there's something about performing as a drag queen and being like the only sober one there and like having people who are like, "Ooh, girl, I need to do a shot before I perform." And it's like,
Yeah,
well,
makes
if
you
you need
sloppy
to,
though too.
if you need to get sloppy, are you really that good of a performer? That's at least how I look at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think marijuana is usually better in general, but I mean, it's just a really long list. Like so many U.S. presidents, basically all of the U.S. presidents in my lifetime. Michael Phelps, there's
Right.
so many people. Um, and it's like really healthy on the day to day. So I definitely really am more on that, understanding of it. And I do used to drink a lot more too, and it just doesn't. You don't have as much inner peace from it, because it's not as natural. It is cultivated from plants, but it's not as natural.
Yeah.
And I have been having absinthe lately because I like thujone too. Like I used to smoke sage, and sage also has thujone. Sage was never illegal because sage is just awesome.
Yeah.
But thujone in Wormwood was illegal for a little bit until like 2007 or something in the U.S. So, but I realized in small amounts it's like basically microdosing. So maybe having a shot a day is like not so bad of like
Yeah.
absinthe. I don't know. Relative to like a lot, and it's really hard to cultivate the thujone and like sage and to smoke it because it has to be dry, and if it's the powder that sucks because the powder will like come out and stuff, and yeah, sage is hard to smoke, but I have like extracted that in vodka before too, so there are other ways to get the thujone from sage.
Yeah, and it's also like to your point of alcohol, like at some point for a lot of people, I've never been someone who's done this. Like people who talk about like being hungover, I've never been hungover at all in my life, and it's like
Do you
what
drink a
people.
lot of water?
Um, when I drink a decent amount of water, and it's like
Maybe that's why, because it's like you're really dehydrated. That's what causes the hangover.
I mean,
So
like
if you're
you.
always taking enough water, and then you're like, taking your precautions.
Well, also that's like the singer in me. It's like obviously I need to have some water when I'm drinking because like
Yeah.
I'm performing and like I need something to lubricate my throat. I'm very much a green tea person. Like that's usually what I do.
Do
Like
you use that on guys? That line.
what? Oh, what?
That line you just used to use that on guys sometimes.
I don't even remember what I just said.
That why you drink so much water if you're singing.
Oh, my throat needs to be lubricated. Yeah. I. Some guys would like that. Like I'm not really like a dick sucker myself. Like some people like love it. That's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm in the mood, I'll do it. But like,
Yeah. I think I need to clean their litter box too. So
well, I mean, cool. That's basically all I had to say. So with that being said, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. This is Gay Out the City. I am your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and I hope you've enjoyed. And